How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Reel Night. My name is Jabril, and today we are going to be doing the RNR for Season 2 of Dexter. This is a season wrap-up, so if you haven't seen the reactions, go check them out. We have a couple different additions this time, but enough talk. Let's roll it. I made some predictions last time, so let's go back and see which ones came true and which ones made me look like an idiot. Paul is definitely going to continue to be a problem in the foreseeable future. Paul was a problem for all of one episode. It was definitely unexpected that he would, pass away like that, but hey. Rita may begin to doubt Dexter a little bit, but I think that she may ignore it. Rita did, suspect stuff. She started to pull away a little bit, but the whole drug angle was definitely something I was not expecting. Deb is probably going to have a rough time of it just because of what Dexter mentioned in that final episode, as far as burying her emotions a little bit deeper. Deb, of course, did have a rough time, but she came out stronger for it through her own determination and with the help of Lundy, and maybe a little bit Gabriel too. Dokes is on to Dexter, and I think that's probably going to be a major part. Yep. I'm really hoping it doesn't come down to that choice of Dexter or Dokes. It did. People don't want to see Dokes, leave the show or get killed or something like that. He did.
What a drama queen.
I do expect family to be a big part of season 2. Not a major theme, but definitely an underlying one. Not bad, past me. Not bad at all. It was an amazing season to say the least. You guys told me it was going to be a wild ride, and you were definitely right. We've come so far in one season that it's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly what my favorite episodes were, but here they are. At spot number 3, we have episode number 1, It's Alive. We kicked this season off with Turmoil, which I think was the perfect way to set the tone for how this season was going to go. So much was packed into this episode, 2 victims escaping, Paul's death, Dexter's bodies getting found. This was definitely an obvious choice for the top 3. In our number 2 spot, we have episode number 12, The British Invasion. Speaking of jam-packed, this episode really took that to the next level, not just with the in-episode events, but also just the emotional roller coaster that took me on. I was stressed throughout 90% of that episode. They definitely took their time and kept me on the edge of my seat throughout the entirety of the episode, but I think the fact that Lila was the one that took Dokes out and it was such a quick thing, I think that's what's kind of brought that episode down a little bit for me. Other than that, insane. Awesome. And our number 1 spot is going to go to episode number 8, Morning Comes. By far my favorite episode of the season. While it wasn't necessarily as jam-packed or stressful as episodes like 12 were, the last 10 minutes or so left me just speechless. It left my mind racing. Going from Dokes figuratively opening Pandora's box to Lila's home invasion, all happening while Dexter had Jimenez on the table, and then later finding out that Lila was the one that called Jimenez and almost got Dexter killed. It was really mind-boggling to say the least, and I loved every second of it. So that's why it had to land in the top spot. If you guys had an episode that you really loved from this season, let me know in the comments. Before we begin the actual tier lists, here are a few honorable mentions that I didn't really have too much, to expound on with them. Paul Bennett, C, he was only there for 1 episode. Gabriel, B, he wasn't there for too long, and he didn't really make huge waves. Gail, B, I don't think we've seen the last of her for sure. The kids, Aster and Cody, B. They do a great job. I still kind of wonder why they recast Cody. Maybe there was some kind of issue with the actor or something like that, but I don't know. And Captain Matthews. I'm not really liking the guy's vibe. I gave him a C. On to the main list, starting with Angel Batista. I enjoy Angel's character a lot. I think out of all of the characters in the show, or at least most of them, he's one of the most wholesome. Of course, he has his faults, and that whole situation with Lila was just beyond dumb, but I think he's definitely learned from that, and we probably won't be seeing him make the same mistake. And that is one thing I really like about his character. Even though he does get caught up in quite a bit, he does seem to take that in stride and try to improve from it. Vince Masuka. So we still haven't gotten too much with Bazooka, you know, he just comes in here and there with a joke or something like that. He does have a little bit of exposition in the story as the LFI, Lead Forensics Investigator.
LFI, Lead Forensics Investigator.
I think I got that right. But yeah, haven't seen too much from him. He's a C. Esme Pascal. Surprisingly enough, she was only here for a few episodes. You know, when she was introduced last season, I expected a little bit more from the character. They introduced her as someone who like took work seriously, didn't get distracted, and saw through a lot of the games that were being played. And while they did sort of maintain that, you know, she was still sharp, but she wasn't sharp about the things she was supposed to be sharp about. It was more her focus was on, you know, her fiance, which, you know, personal issues, I can understand how that might get in the way of, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, I think they could have done a lot more with the character. So she landed on C. I do feel for her though. You know, what Maria did was completely foul. Harry Morgan. A lot has come to the light involving Harry as the seasons of the show have gone on, and he's not necessarily as stalwart of a guy as it seemed to be when he was introduced in season 1, which, you know, nobody's perfect, but I think the more we find out about him, the more I'm just like, yeah, okay, makes sense. He still taught Dexter a lot of good lessons, and Dexter would not be where he's at right now if it wasn't for Harry, but, you know, I think I'm gonna give him a C this time around. Maria LaGuerta.
You try and judge me, asshole.
It's always something with Maria. The whole Bertrand situation really just sealed the deal for me as far as Maria goes. I don't really feel much for her character anymore, like not even hate, to be completely honest. To rise up from this point, she's gonna have to do something crazy good. Which, you know, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm always open to characters improving. That's what I love to see. Progression. If you haven't noticed by now, that's what I harp on a lot. She's a D. Special Agent Frank Lundy. I really enjoyed Lundy's time in the show, and I hope we see him again under less stressful circumstances. He was chill, witty, and he took his job seriously. He was an ear for Deb, maybe more than an ear.
I would love to eat your toast.
But I think she's better off for having known him, and I think he's had a good impact on the show as a whole. So he landed on S. Rita Bennett. I love Rita, if you haven't been able to tell so far. I really like the progression that she's gone through so far in the story. She's grown a lot more confident and sure in herself, and she's not really afraid to voice her opinions anymore or to stand up for herself, which is awesome. It really does make me happy that she's going to be continuing on with Dexter and that we're going to be able to see more of her character. She landed on A. Deborah Morgan. You know, we really didn't get too much on Deb later in the season. You know, we've got the progression of her recovering from what happened with her and Rudy, and I think Lundy helped her out with that, but we haven't gotten anything super internal beyond that. But there is something to be said for consistency, and she has been a consistently good character throughout the show so far. I hope we get some more development for her character in this next season. So she's gonna land on an A. Lila West. Kind of like LaGuerta last season, she is like, I don't really even know where to put her, honestly. I never liked her character from the start. The only quality that I saw in her was the ability that she had to open up Dexter and help him. But that was quickly thrown out of the window, and she just became a major annoyance after that. Also, she's killed Dokes, so you know what? We're going to start a new tier for her. She's going to be
You're horrible. You're an irredeemable monster.
James Dokes.
I've been waiting.
Now, both fortunately and unfortunately, I do have a full perspective on the character because we've seen the beginning and the end of him. Which is very sad to say. I do have to say though, he was a great one, and I would even venture to say he was probably my favorite character. He and Dexter were kind of like battling for that top spot. Of course, Dexter's probably going to be it now that he's gone, but he was definitely up there. From the start, his dry humor, straightforward attitude, you know, willingness to get the job done no matter what. It was extremely entertaining, humorous. You know, I loved most of the scenes that he was in. RIP to one of the greats. He's landing on S, of course. And lastly, we have Dexter Morgan.
No matter what you try, no matter when, no matter how hard you work, I'll always be a step ahead of you for one simple reason. I own you.
If we're talking progression, Dexter takes the cake in this season. We are so far from the Dexter that we knew in season 1 that it feels like multiple seasons have passed. From the inability to follow through, love triangles, being hunted by the FBI, this season has been insanity for Dexter. He's definitely making his way to the top of my list as far as favorite main characters of shows go. So he is going to, of course, land on an S. Let me know who you guys liked or disliked from the season in the comments. We're about to jump into the comments, but I know one of you guys commented that Dokes was your favorite, and I really have to agree. Love hearing from you guys in the comments, and I appreciate and read every single one of them. We're gonna go ahead and run through the top comments of each episode. Top comment from episode 1 was from John Lope 897. Hope your channel grows as the reactions go on. I appreciate you. By commenting and liking the videos, you are definitely helping with that, so thanks. Episode number 2, top comment, Janet D. I love that the episode starts with Dexter unable to sleep and ends with rest in peace. I am. I didn't get that. I really didn't get that when I was watching it. I think I was just talking while it was happening, so I think the only part of that I got was I am, and it kind of threw me off a little bit. I didn't really get it, but yeah, thanks for laying that out for me. Episode 3, top comment, coming from Audrey Quinn 73. I think you were there from the beginning, like 13 subs. Yeah, it was good to hear from you, I think for the first time here. I'm seriously enjoying rewatching these Dexter episodes with you. I really appreciate reactions. I appreciate you. Thank you, being here for the start of the channel and the journey with Dexter. Episode 3, top comment was Janet D. I was as shocked as you about Maria and Bertrand. Wow. In that moment, I really just felt so disappointed in Maria as a character, and it kind of lasted for a couple of episodes after that, but now I'm just kind of indifferent to it. I don't feel hate for her anymore. I don't really feel anything for the character, but that can change. Oh yes, episode number 5. The one where I made that mistake. Yeah, it's pinned, Janet D, reminding me of the facts of the show. Harry was sleeping with Laura, Dexter's mom, but not his bio dad. Remember in season 1 that Dexter inherited a house when his real bio dad, Joe Driscoll, died. DNA test proved it. But we all thought the same thing after this episode. Really enjoyed this one. I don't know where my mind was at. Maybe that day I was recording that I was just out of it, but yeah, it was kind of a dumb mistake, seeing as it wasn't just a hint that was dropped, but also an entire episode was formed around it. After that, I went back and watched a couple of the episodes over again just so that I didn't make that same mistake. But I appreciate whenever you guys point stuff like that out. Keeps me on track so that I don't maintain these misconceptions. Episode number 6, top comment coming from Janet D. I love this season so much. Dexter is in a cauldron. So much happens, so many things change for him. It is quite insane. Episode number 7, top comment coming from 73 Aguilara? I don't know, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Aguilara. Alright, let me just stop. Okay. I still remember watching the headbutt scene for the first time when the show was first airing. It was so crazy because at that point we didn't know there would be a whole 8 seasons, plus New Blood. So it made that much more insane. Always a good time watching these reactions. I know you have been here for a long time as well, so always good to hear from you. The headbutt scene was definitely crazy and it caught me off guard for sure. And the line that Dexter delivered afterwards was just straight to Dokes' face. He was kind of cementing Dokes' suspicions of him in that moment, which might not have been a great move on his part, seeing as it probably just spurred Dokes forward in trying to investigate him on his own. I can't imagine watching that not knowing the other seasons were gonna happen. Yeah, it must have multiplied that intensity by a long shot. Episode number 8, top comment is me talking about how I was going to do the music matching stuff, and you guys didn't dislike it, so here we are. But one underneath that is from Nick1673, Nico, I think. Let me know which one that you prefer. Great reaction, super high quality too. The next episode is even crazier, so be ready. Yeah, this was kind of the kickoff point for when stuff started to go completely wild. It was already a crazy season up until this point, but this is what started to kick into like 6th gear. Episode 9, the episode of the confrontation. Top comment coming from Janet D. Fun fact, Michael C. Hall said his cousin told him that when Dexter bests Dokes, he, the cousin, knew it was all pure fiction because in real life Dokes would squash him. Michael C. Hall seems like a, pretty lithe guy, pretty in shape, but yeah, Dokes seems like he could probably best him for sure. And I was thinking show-wise that Dokes probably could have bested him as well, seeing as he has so much, SF training and whatnot, and those years of just doing that every single day should kick in that second nature. I did state that too, and further down, Gene the Book 4213 said, nah, Dexter learned advanced jujitsu and is unhinged when adrenaline spikes, but remains focused on the task. Dokes would have had a better shot if he was unarmed and fighting him straight up. The fact he was wrestling for the gun instead of using his own training to immobilize Dexter shows how he was off the ball. He took the time to, I think, run up and check the bag and then run out back into the shadows, so you would have thought he would have known about, where his footing would be, where the best place to be would be. Wow, that was a lot of B's. I think it was very circumstantial that Dexter was able to walk out of that almost unscathed. Episode number 10, top comment coming from Janet D. I love your videos and your analysis. You said at one point, I can relate to that. I think one of the reasons this show is so popular is that there is a lot that is relatable about Dexter. Maybe not the killing, but we all feel like we fake some things in our lives. We adjust who we are for who we are with and have insecurities, etc. Too true, too true. Some of the character moments in this are definitely very relatable. I think that's just what makes it a more engaging show. Plus if you don't have some of that relatability factor, people aren't going to be able to watch it. People have to find something that they can relate to in a show, even if it's something small. It's just what keeps an audience coming back, I think. And I'll highlight another one from this video coming from Lol 5346. It's on screen, so I love the scene between Dokes and Dexter in the end, darkest, and shows how messed up Dexter really is. We love him, but he is a monster. I mentioned it in the reaction, no hesitation. Put up the plastic and got right to work, but I guess, that makes sense because he's probably done that a number of times and it is just another killer for him to dispatch. Definitely a very impactful scene. Episode number 11, top comment coming from John Lope 897. I never realized how heroic that stance was. Yeah. Puffing his chest out and it looked very heroic. Kind of made me laugh a little bit, so I figured I'd point it out. And another one coming from Lol. I hope it's okay that if I just say like Lol. One of my favorite scenes, Dexter respects Angel a lot. That was the scene where Angel and Dexter were talking, and Dexter was, saying that if he was going to be somebody normal, that he would want to be like Angel. He is a very respectable guy. Not everything he does, but for the most part, he wants to be better. And I think that is a very respectable trait. All right, the finale, episode 12. Top comment coming again from John Lope 897. When we were introduced to Lila, I knew she was going to be trouble right away. Yeah, I knew there was going to be some issues with Dexter and Rita if Dexter allowed things to happen, which he seemed to be doing in the episode. I figured that he would kind of catch on to what was going on, but he didn't, and led to where we ended up. I had no idea it was going to be such a complication to have Lila in the picture. I really just wish he had been like, oh, coffee's good next door. Okay, cool. I'm gonna, go to Rita now. But I will say, having her in the show did make for a very suspenseful and intense season. And we'll finish off with another one from Nico. Great reaction, really excited for season 3 and literally can't wait for season 4. I literally can't wait for all of these reactions. This is a great show. I'm really glad that I started it, and I'm happy that you guys are enjoying the videos and enjoying coming on this journey with me. Alright, we're going to wrap things up with my predictions for season 3. First off, I think Gail may come back. I don't know if it's going to be this season, next season, whatever, but I believe that she'll probably come back at some point just because she had that feeling that Dexter was not who he, presented himself as. And she did find all that stuff with the Narcotics Anonymous, but I don't know if she's really done with Dexter per se. Next up, I'm sure we're going to do a deep dive into Dexter's new hybrid form. I mean, we can't leave a box empty. That's just an all-around no-go. So yeah, we've got to have some new methods and new killers to dispatch. It'll be very interesting to see how he does it now. And he might even, incorporate some of those methods that Masuka was talking about in this season. I'm hoping we get some more progress with Deb internally. I hope she figures some more stuff out, grows a bit. I'm sure it's going to happen because that's just the nature of entertainment and shows in general. You have to progress the characters or else the show is just going to fall flat. But I hope we get more than we got in these past 2 seasons, I hope we focus a little bit more on Deb. And lastly, I think that the Doak situation is going to really plague Maria, and I don't know if she's going to be really able to deal with the stress. I think we have quite a bit to settle as far as the department goes, because this whole Bay Harbor Butcher situation really just put everybody into like a whirlwind, and it'll be interesting to see where everything lands. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and leave a comment down below with your favorite part of the season as a whole, or maybe this video, or if you have a favorite that you want to share. Also, if you have any improvements for these RNRs, be sure to leave it in the comments down below. I'm always trying to improve these videos the best that I can. This season has been quite the journey, and I am ready to hop into season 3. So I'll see you guys in the next one.